Se a gente já falava em 2007 de sustentabilidade como uma coisa que está nas nossas vidas e a gente tem que fazer para acontecer, tem que ser escolhas do nosso dia a dia, e a gente, passados esses anos todos, a gente está vendo ainda questões que não foram resolvidas, a gente começa a trazer para o São Paulo Fashion Week, dentro do Projeto Estufa, estilistas e criadores que estão pensando novas formas de criar, novas formas de produzir, novas formas de distribuir, isso com o auxílio da tecnologia, que facilitou muito, mas também com uma vontade. Acho que a gente não pode perder de vista as escolhas que a gente faz, porque são elas que vão determinar aquilo que a gente vai criar, seja agora no presente, seja no futuro. Então, é importante ter exemplos, como vocês veem nas passarelas. Hoje a gente tem mais 2 estilistas. Ontem a gente viu as coleções da Corche e da Ão. Hoje a gente tem... Eu posso errar hoje agora. Enfim, vocês vão ver lá fora, não vou lembrar agora de cabeça. Mas são exemplos de criadores muito jovens também, e que estão transformando já a maneira de ver o mundo, de pensar e de colocar isso no seu trabalho. Bethany Williams é um exemplo disso. E a gente quer fazer esse cross, a gente quer, como a Lígia falou, esses encontros presenciais. Por que trazer uma estilista de fora se a gente aqui também está fazendo? Porque a gente acredita nessa troca. A gente acredita que, aprendendo a partir de exemplos, não só nossos, mas exemplos de fora, o mundo não é mais fechado numa bolha. A gente trabalha sem fronteiras. A gente pode ganhar, e muito, a Bethany conhecendo as nossas virtudes, digamos assim, aquilo que a gente pode oferecer também nessa troca para ela, e a gente aprendendo com ela também. Ela é uma pessoa que busca recursos em vários outros lugares, não só onde ela mora. Então, ela vai contar para a gente essa história, e eu acho que vai ser muito rico. Eu vou pedir para vocês trocarem o canal nos seus fones. Quem quiser ouvir a tradução em português, passa para 72.3, tá? No canal. Quem quiser ouvir em inglês mesmo, não precisa. Mantenha 76.1. Aqui em tuning, para cima. Ok? Bethany?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi, so yeah, thank you for having me today. So I'm Beth, and I run a menswear brand called Bethany Williams in London. So I just kind of put a presentation together just about my process and my work, and kind of the journey I had from my studies going forward. Oh, sorry. So I trained as in fine art at Brighton University in the UK, and then I went on to then work for a publication called Garage Magazine, and then worked for an agency for Nike doing art direction, and then I moved on to work for menswear labels based in London. But when I was on my my BA at Brighton in fine art, I kind of was looking around art that could kind of create social impact and have kind of work that has meaning outside of itself. So I kind of collaborated with a charity in Brighton called the CCCK Shelter. And this shelter provides food for homeless population in Brighton. So I kind of wanted to create garments that could give back. So I used housing insulation and housing tape and things that you'd connect with shelter, and did a clothing exchange with the shelter. So people could come and bring one item, and I'd give them winter items back. So a coat, a jumper, trousers, keep things that will keep them warm in exchange for one garment. And then I took that garment and made it into a new garment with the textiles. And then we sold the garments at my degree show. and donated the money back to the CCK shelter. And then the second project I did was whilst I was working alongside Nike, but this was kind of like a project I did on the side of my job. So the British Arts Council wanted to curate this space in North London, which was quite deprived. So they invited 24 artists to have a shop along the streets in this area called Wood Street. So I was given a charity shop. And I worked with an art practice called Public Works. So Public Works is like a socially engaged architect practice, and they provide kind of like socially engaged spaces. So they redeveloped the charity shop and put an art residency space in the window for me to make garments from the old product in the store. And then we kind of went into the history around the area, and that went into the print design, and we kind of were inspired by the area of Wood Street. So then, we did an installation, an art installation with models that were street casted from the community, and then sold the clothes and donated the proceeds back. So it's trying to make like a circle of the process. So this is just the first kind of garments that we created for the CCK shelter. And then I worked with Garage Magazine, and we shot the editorial for that. And this is just showing how the garments were reversible. And this is the presentation that we did in Wood Street. So that brought me on to, I went to London College of Fashion to study a master's in menswear. And whilst I was there, I kind of wanted to create this project working with the Vauxhall Food Bank. So in the UK, the food, at the time, access to the food bank was, so at the time, it had risen by like 400% of the usage of the food bank in the UK, and the politicians at the time were saying that people were taking advantage of food banks, but it's really difficult to actually gain access to a food bank in the UK. So you have to get a voucher, and you can only have a voucher for emergency food. You can only have 2 of those in 6 months, and it gives you 2 days of emergency food, which is non-perishable, and you have to get that voucher from the job centre or the doctor or a social worker. So it's actually really difficult to gain access to the food bank. So I kind of wanted to create this project to kind of talk about that and also provide solutions. So I worked alongside Tesco, which is a really big supermarket, the biggest in the UK, and they donated fresh fruit and veg, which I then handed out at the food bank in exchange for waste garments that nobody needed. And then we specified to be knitwear and denim, and then that's been repurposed to create the collection. And then Tesco's gave me their branding for this everyday food, which is like the essential, like the lowest food quality that they sell. And then they gave me their recycled cardboard, and I made that into a new material through basket weaving. So we worked with we learned the technique, so a British basket weaving technique, and applied that to the cardboard. And then the whole point was about donating the 30% back to the food bank to support in another way. So this was my show for London Fashion Week on my graduation from my master's. So here's kind of just like the system that that's created. So the branding, the used cardboard, and the fresh fruit and vegetables is, goes to the Vauxhall Food Bank and the collection, and then giving back to the food bank and developing the techniques. And then so I kind of also, when I was kind of starting out my business, was thinking about what I want for my business and what my values were. So for my brand identity was like working with a charitable organization each season and keeping like sustainability integral to my process. being socially responsible and aiming to create brands that is socially engaging and helping and supporting communities. And then also working with real people and causing a real effect in the spaces that I work in. And also this idea of creating a cycle of exchange, and also encouraging British craftsmanship. In the UK, there's a lot of dyeing manufacturing, so it's and you know, as it's been moved away, there's lots of areas of the UK that have been in a lot of, well, in poverty because of industry moving, textiles moving away, garment manufacturing moving away, and people being left without jobs. And yeah, and also people not being trained. So right now, we're trying to encourage this idea of making back into the UK, and the idea of, you know, people having a skill and how important and empowered it is to make garments. And then I also only work with recycled or organic textiles. And then this whole idea of providing an alternative system of fashion production, as I believe that fashion has the ability to, you know, create a lot of positive change. So for this collection, we work with organic textiles that was printed. Even the buttons were made with a woman called Jean Wilder, she lives in the north of England and grows trees, and then she'll hand make the buttons from the branches. And then the knitwear was old jumpers deconstructed and then reconstructed by hand. And you'll know exactly how many old jumpers will take to make the new look. So it's 9 jumpers to make the new look. And also, when I was working at the food bank and volunteering, kind of this guy, Mustafa, was there using the service. So he's modeled, and then obviously I paid him the model rate for being in the lookbook, and then he's gone on to do other projects. So this is kind of the process of deconstructing to reconstruct. So with the denim, we use like a traditional Bora stitching technique, which is a Japanese technique. And yeah, so it's just a simple line stitch. And we used the recycled yarn and recycled denim as a layer. As it was, with the damage, it was to kind of mend it and bring the recycled denim together. And then we also had zips from Lampo in Italy, so they're fully recycled zips, the silver and the tape. So the metal is like recasted. So this is a process of deconstructing and reconstructing. So for the cardboard process that we created, so basically to separate cardboard, it was really difficult, and in the UK, nobody really knew how to do it because there's not really cardboard is manufactured in the UK. And then I found this one factory that said if I placed cardboard in water, it would separate the layers, because we needed to separate the first layer to make it usable. So I got a paddling pool and put that in my garden at the time, and then placed the cardboard in that, separated it, and then slid a wooden board underneath, took that up. Then it was dried, and then it was fused to an organic cotton. And then we developed a laser cutting technique so that the kind of technique was it was cut slightly along the side so that the weave would then lock in, and then another piece of cardboard would come up below with adhesive and stick. So it kind of became seamless. So it kind of felt a bit like leather outside and inside a bit like suede. Yeah. And then this is the process of the hand weaving, basket weaving. So then, like, when I finished my MA, I was thinking about, like setting up my own business. So this was kind of the branding I developed with a guy called Aaron Skipper, who works for Nike. So we kind of wanted to keep things recycled and also to keep things cheap because as a young brand and the space in London, how everything's so expensive. So we used the old Tesco receipts, so the supermarket receipts to kind of and stamp the brand on. And they became part of the tags as well for the stores. So these are just some of the features from that collection. So then I went on to do an art residency with the Xenia Foundation in Italy in a community called San Patriano. So the community is 1,400 people. So yeah, we work with the women on the project, and they produce all of our jersey manufacturing for all of our orders. So the whole project for this was about connecting the two groups of women together through creativity and through design. So San Patriano, the community, their belief is that craft has the ability to heal, and it's quite a meditative process. So when I went to meet the girls, we kind of went into all the different parts of the community and found their waste product. And then the yarns that are going down the warp this way are donations from Italian mills that do not need the yarns anymore. So they're like pre-production waste. And then we use different waste from the community. So there's like electrical waste. The silver fabric is made from wine packaging. So these were like, so this was the project. And we called the project Women of Change. And this is the result of the collection. So I've worked with recycled denim, which is unpicked, and then hand screen printed in London. And then, this is waste electrical tape, which is the coat. And then we worked for the prints on this attenzione, which is attention in Italian. And then also we worked with the girls, because when I was there, they were all kind of talking about the word change and how they were changing and what change meant to them. So we created these prints of the girls' words, their like personal response to the word change. So this is more of the organic jerseys and screen printing. And then the denim is basically when you take a jean leg, if you cut it circular on a overlocker machine, if you take out the needle, it creates a yarn. And then we use that with the recycled cream yarn, knitted yarn, to make the knitwear. And then this yellow fabric here is waste from the actual textile department. So when you create a hand-woven textile, you have to cut it off the machine, off the loom, and then that in itself creates a yarn. So we're using that salvage yarn to then weave into the cloth to then reuse it. So this is just a film that I've got to show you the community of San Patriano and the people that are on the program. Oh, sorry, it's can you play? Oh, sorry. So this is a community of San Patriano, but there should actually be sound, but I don't know. And so these are like each of the departments in the community. So there's like the cheese department, the winemaking department, laundry. So I made this film in collaboration with Akinola Davis, who's a director based in Nigeria, based in London. But he's originally Nigerian. So each member in the film is actually part of the rehabilitation program. So Carol, for instance, works in the textile department, and she wove the coat that she's wearing. And then this is the horse riding department, which they have. And this is the wine department. Yes, this is the hand-painted wallpaper department. Yeah, and cultivation here, where they grow flowers. And this is the textile department. So this is where, because the community is 1,400 people, everyone eats together in the evening. So we wanted to capture that moment of everyone being together and the sense of community. So yeah, that's that. So these are the film stills that we took whilst we were there, and then I launched this film with ID magazine and London Fashion Week. So we showcased the film at London Fashion Week, and then also we did a feature for this publication called Twin magazine. So it's my favorite publication, and it's run by a woman called Becky, and it's a female only publication. So the photographers, stylists, artists will all be female. So we wanted to kind of capture the women of San Patriano textile department for the publication. And then this was the film that we presented at London Fashion Week. So then, I went on with this project to work with the Tate Gallery, and we had live models, and then we also took all the waste from the Tate. So they had their posters, because they run this night called Late at the Tate, which is about younger curators coming in and younger artists and taking over the Tate for one night. So there's like current DJs, like filmmakers, like artists that will all come in and all take over the Tate for an evening, because the Tate is kind of known for this, like an older kind of quite high wealthy people coming through the doors, and this is about actually having a different audience coming in and accessing the Tate. So we took the waste and hand wove it and made this kind of sculpture through the evening, and people could come and learn how to weave. And then there was also a knit workshop that was run by my mum, and then so we were doing that. And there was also this thing called Show Studio, is a film kind of website online, and they host panel discussions. So we had like a live panel discussion there at the Tate. And so this is an exhibition that I did also alongside the project for the Xenia Foundation. So it was with London College of Fashion, the Xenia Foundation, and San Patriano, and we went to had this exhibition in called the State of Fashion in Arnhem. So I designed the textiles from waste, but then I worked alongside the first year BA students, and the brief was kind of like society and the environment and how they connect those things. And then they developed collections, and then we selected 6 students and manufactured their coat from the textiles. And then on the other side of the room are all accessory pieces designed and made by the Making for Change program in London. So it was a way to connect the project. So this was run by London Fashion School of Fashion, their social responsibility department. So the next project I went on to was called No Address Needed to Join. So I worked with the Quaker Mobile Library, which is based in London. So it's a charity that provide books to people without an address. So if you live in London and you don't have an address, you're not allowed to use the library services. So I worked with them and connected them to a company called Hachette, who are the second biggest publishing house in the UK, and they produce 3 million books in Stafford every week. So Hachette then donated books to the library service. So they were saying that they were getting too many books or hardback books, and they couldn't keep on to the books because of the size of the bus. So they needed someone to just regularly give them the books that they needed and required at the time, and be able to request that. And also they were saying that the reading list they weren't receiving books that were correct for the reading list of their users. So then also we went to Hachette's factory and took their waste from the book waste and wove that with San Patriano in Italy. And then we worked again with Making for Change project, and we took the graphics from Hachette. They gave us their graphics and we changed them to no address needed to join. So this was like the next system that was created. So yeah, so when I was designing materials, we used the insides of the books, so the inners, and then we used the book covers, and then we also used plastic from San Patriano community, which is used to protect paper in their graphic design department, and they were all hand woven. So this is the process and samples of hand weaving. And then, so that's the cover artwork of the books. And then we worked with this process in Tuscany, which waxes and heats the fabric so it becomes waterproof. So this is a process of hand weaving. Yeah, and then we did the showcase at London Fashion Week at the Charing Cross Library, which is in central London. And this was the presentation that I did. And then again, everything is either recycled or organic, and we all hand produced in the UK, apart from the woven textiles from San Patriano. Yeah. Yeah, so these were just the looks. And then I went on to work with this design practice called Franklin Till, which are based in London. And the women that run Franklin Till were the course directors at Central St. Martin's for material futures. So now they're curators, and they kind of tell stories of materials and materials futures. So we hosted this for London Design Festival, and they would allow a designer to come in and take over the space for 2 days. So I think they had like it for a week, and several designers coming in. So they were kind of saying like, can you have a guilt-free space? Can you have guilt-free consumerism? And we were kind of asking that question and playing with those ideas. So I kind of showed all of the materials and a garment for each project. And then we were hosting workshops and also talks within the space. So then the next collection I did was called Adelaide House. So I worked with a shelter in Liverpool where my mum and dad are both from, so that's in the north of the UK. And I was kind of researching around the ideas of it. So in the UK, there's only 6 shelters specifically for women. So a lot of them are mixed, and women really don't want to use those services. So like in London, women will sleep on the bus all night rather than going to the shelters, as you know, they have different needs and also quite vulnerable. So this shelter that was in Liverpool, we kind of want to do a collaboration with them. So I went up to Liverpool, and I worked with an illustrator called Georgia Chiram, and we went and did drawing workshops with Adelaide House. So it provides shelter for women fleeing domestic violence, also coming out of prison on probation, and also homelessness. So we did the workshops with the women around drawing, and then Georgia did paintings and landscapes around Liverpool, and the city became the inspiration to the work. And because it's a city that first had social housing in the UK, there's a lot of politicians that have their voices in Parliament and heard and let to speak about their community. So it's kind of a really community feel there. So and then we got materials from the Liverpool Echo, which is the local newspaper, and then we wove those into new textiles with Sampa. And then, again, worked with the Making for Change program, created the collection, and then donate 20% of the proceeds. So this was a collection. So we also work with recycled tents as well, and screen printed on them. So these are like the scenes of the landscapes and the recycled textiles. And then we presented the collection at City Hall in London. Yeah, the Deputy Mayor of London was really supportive of the work and allowed us to present it in that space, which I thought was kind of really connected, because London is also their kind of, the Mayor of London is trying to connect London to other cities and having that relationship. So this was us like walking over to City Hall to do the presentation. Yeah, and then so I received the Queen Elizabeth Award for design, which is presented to you by a royal family member at London Fashion Week. So this was the showcase that we did, and I worked with a set designer called Lydia Chan, and she created the set out of all of the tents that we were going to use for production, so that we didn't waste anything on the actual set as well of the show. And then I went to India to work on a project for the British Council. So they took me to a region to the northeast, and I worked alongside a designer called Aratrik, who was actually based in the region, and he was from that region. And the textiles there are amazing, and they have basically 10% of the population is indigenous, and 90% is from Bangladesh. It's a state that doesn't actually touch India but touches Bangladesh. So they have a really beautiful textile technique, and the women all within each tribe, so there's 19 tribes, will create textiles, and they'll weave every day for 2 hours, and the symbols are all different within each tribe. And it was just really beautiful to see this amazing design and like history within a cloth. Because in each tribal community they have a language, but they don't have a written script, so everything's kind of like innate into the textiles. So we worked alongside the region and then created garments for a presentation in Mumbai. And then I also worked alongside Georgia, the illustrator, and she illustrated like the landscapes and the women for the presentation. And then then I just had the LVMH prize, so it's a Louis Vuitton award. So yeah, I went to Paris to kind of showcase my work there as well. And then the next project that I've done is called the Butterfly Cafe. So we worked alongside a charity in South London called Spires. So it's a charity to help men and women, but I worked with the women's division. So it's the only service in London that provides a night bus support for women through the evening. And then they also have drop-in sessions for women to come in and have a safe space to meet social workers, to get housing sorted out, or it's just a safe space. And it's also a safe space for women engaged with sex work, because it's kind of stigmatized, and it's a safe space for those women to be able to feel safe to talk about their needs, and there's not many services in London that actually provide that. So we worked with the Spires Butterfly Cafe, which is a Friday service also for women to come in from the community to have lunch if they have any issues as social workers at hand, but also they work with the WI, which is the Women's Institute, and they come in to do different workshops. So we'll be running workshops with them around embroidery, which they specifically asked for. So we again took waste tents, because we kind of were thinking about like protection and those ideas around shelter, and took that to San Patriano, and then worked with Making for Change again. And Georgia also illustrated the routes of the night bus, so the city landscapes. And then she also made an illustration of the Butterfly Cafe and like distorted butterfly wings. So this was her print design, which we then applied to recycled denims, organic jerseys, recycled tenting. So this was like the cityscapes of London and like the high-rise buildings. And then these were also translated into knitwear with, this is by Wool and the Gang, which is a recycled knit. And then yeah, so this was like the sketching out of the collection and the print placements and yeah, how everything kind of intertwined. But we used a new yarn, which was recycled ocean waste plastic and corduroy jeans, recycled corduroy jeans. So for the denim, we work with a factory in London that collects waste, and then it brings it to South London, sorts it into different categories. So we ask for recycled denim or recycled cord, and they'll sort that for us. And we ask for like plus 38-inch waist, so there's more fabric in each garment to unpick. So this was the show that we presented at London Fashion Week, and I showcased it in the Garden Museum, which is just on the River Thames, just down the road from Big Ben. So it's a museum to celebrate gardens, growth. So I kind of wanted to connect this idea of like growth and transformation, because that's what spies were kind of talking about when I was speaking to the volunteers. So I was volunteering kind of 3 shifts a week whilst doing this to kind of understand what I could do to help. And yeah, they said that the Butterfly Cafe was named that due to the growth and transformation of the people going through the projects. Ooh. Yeah, so that's everything. Thank you so much for having me.
Bom, é maravilhoso o trabalho, e it's interesting how you go around the process, because it's always a circular flux that you establish. When you go around, when you decide to do that, do they look for you? Do they go after you to do some project, or do you think about the project before and then you sketch it out and see with whom you're going to work?
Yeah, so each project I'll usually research the kind of area that I want to talk about or find solutions for, and then research into partners that I think would be the best to work with. And then I'll go and volunteer and see how things run and ask them what they need, you know. And then from that point, that's how we kind of start the program. But the new project that I'm working on is called Magpie, which is a charity for mothers and children in temporary accommodation in London. So they actually approached me. They're part of the Great Ormond Street Hospital Fund. So yeah, at the minute in the UK, people in temporary accommodation or don't have citizenship, women will be placed in an area called Newham, which is in East London. So they have the highest level of homeless women and children in the whole of London. So this was a charity set up by mothers in the area that were worried about these mothers in temporary accommodation. So it's like a safe place for women to come and children to play and to have that connection to their child in a safe environment. And they also have legal support there to help women gain their citizenship. So yeah, with that it's different. They've actually approached me, which was lovely. Yeah.
So you probably have those approaches more and more as your work begins to be known, right? Vamos abrir para perguntas. Quem quer? Eu estou falando em português, já não sei mais se vocês estão ouvindo no quê. Mas perguntas?
Ei, 1, 2.
Hi, Bethany. It's a pleasure.
Hi, thank you.
Well, for me, you are the quite example of a new economy.
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
I would love to listen. How can you create fashion while you co-create all those projects? You know, in a I think in an old world, or either you deal with this social inclusive project, or you really create fashion, and and you make those things so close together. For me, you're hacking a note system, and I would like to listen how you're hacking them and finding time to do all this meaningful project while
Yeah.
you still create fashion
Yeah.
and a great fashion.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. I think now, like, as I'm growing, is like, you know, remaining true to yourself and, you know, and true to your path. So I think that's quite difficult when you're being approached by different larger brands or projects, you know, how to move forward. But I think it's kind of about creating your own manifesto, you know, and like a checklist of people that you have to work with, you know, making sure that they tick. So you've got 10 criterias, you know, if they take 8, do you work with them? If they take 6, you know, I think like, but you can go into larger organizations and don't compromise. I think is quite, you know, I'm only going to work on this project with these terms. So, and I think that's, yeah, I think as younger designers, I think we need to kind of create our own terms and, you know, because these organizations have been, you know, going for a long time and we're new and we're more agile to change. You know, so say like growth, like a massive organization is a tree and I'm a tiny, I don't know, seed. So like as I grow, it's having these ideas as I grow. But if you're a massive corporation, you know, trickling right down to the core, it's a lot of hard work for them as well. So I think like, yeah, it's just, yeah, I think it's like staying true to what you believe in, staying true to yourself and, you know, see if it works. But
Yeah, you are the kind of example for me of human using the progress, the technology, and all, you know, the possible ways to do better futures. Thank you for being the example.
oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Isabella. I was wondering about what inspired you, what motivated you to start changing in a way that we hadn't seen before. Thinking about the traditional brands and etc.
Yeah.
So, what was your motivation? I don't know. Thinking about social, political, economic.
Yeah, I think so I was really, when I was going to like university to study, I was really in a like problematic area because I like love textiles, I love making, but I just didn't like the idea of fashion and like the waste within it, and kind of like I saw kind of like the elitism. So I actually went to do fine art and with theory because of that. But I was actually at the same time, like all through my schoolings, like working, you know, like in retail as a shop assistant. And then one of the like ladies that I was working with was kind of like, well, you know, you don't have to follow like a path that's already exists. You can create your own path and, you know, bring your interests together. And I kind of hadn't even thought about that, you know, like, you know, I volunteer and I like the work that I do, and I also like making textiles and working with waste. So it's just like an idea of like forging things together. And then I think also like I really believe that collaboration is so important, and I feel like when you bring two people from two different industries together, I think the unexpected happens because you have, you know, you're working with someone with an amazing skill set and something that you have no understanding of or processes. So I think when that happens, you can create really amazing, like magical projects. So I think collaboration is also like a really key thing. No worries. Hi.
Hi, I am nervous. Sorry
Nice to meet you.
about my English,
No,
but
no worries.
it's not a question about your collections, in a question about your logo. It's
Okay.
because the project with the box that you took.
Yeah. So basically, when I was working with Aaron, like he did all of like my branding. We were looking at the crates that in the food bank that the food is delivered in. So it's a crate with an opening there. So he just used the crate to kind of create my logo. So the box.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Hi, first of all, thank
Hi.
you so much. It was really great.
Oh, thank you.
I was wondering, you mentioned the elitism and exclusivism of the old fashion.
Mhm.
I was wondering if you faced any resistance, and if so, how did you outcome that?
Well, I feel like once I've finished my MA, it was like, people were responsive to my work, but I don't think they really got it. But I feel like in the last 2 years, there's been such a massive shift of people seeing, I don't know how fashion can be positive and beneficial. So I feel like in the last 2 years, I've had such an amazing response to the work, and people, have just been so responsive about inclusivity. So, and I think, especially when I was at the LVMH prize, there was, a lot of talk about like inclusivity within fashion, and, getting rid of that whole like smoke and mirrors kind of aspect to it. So yeah, I think times are changing, hopefully.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So, thank you.
No
First.
worries.
My question is not about how you create, not like the social and political side of your creations, but about the research you do. Because
Okay.
I see that your logo, your branding is more minimalistic and not a lot of colors. Use mostly black and white. And your creations, you use a lot of colors.
Yeah.
And I am researching psychology of colors at
Okay.
college. And my question is, do you look for materials that has the color you want, or you use every material?
Yeah, I think, well, with the print design, we use a lot of color for the screen printing. So that'll just go on either like organic or like recycled jeans, or like, but yeah, we do look out for colors. I just feel like with what I'm doing with my work has kind of like a serious undertone with the research. So I kind of want to keep things positive and also keep things current, and make things like attractive. And I really love color. So that's how it happens.
I see that you use a lot of red colors and blue.
Yeah.
And
I think red because I'm a Liverpool fan, football club, so that's why.
so thank you.
Thank you.
Bom dia.
Hi.
Eu gostaria de saber, eu sou a Adriana, sou de Alagoas, e eu gostaria de saber... Tá bom? Pode continuar? Eu gostaria de saber...
Sorry. That's on the English one. Yeah. Try you. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is easier. Yeah. He's going to translate.
Bom dia. Eu gostaria de saber como que você sente...
I think that listens to you though. We need to change it.
Eu gostaria de saber como que você sente a transformação...
Sorry.
Por favor, agora sim. Próximo no microfone.
Pode ir? Eu gostaria de saber como que você sente a transformação dessas pessoas que você trabalha diante de realidades tão diferentes. Assim, como que você percebe que elas realmente podem se sentir inseridas dentro desse contexto que, e muitas vezes, elas se sentem assim, que é impossível estarem naquele lugar?
I think especially with San Patriano. So especially with, San Patriano. Oh, okay. So especially with San Patriano, I there's a 3-year program, so I've been working with the girls for 3 years. So I've seen the girls come in, and now they're leaving, and they're going back into the world,
Especialmente na comunidade sampatriano, a gente consegue perceber que as mulheres entram nesses programas de reabilitação e quando elas concluem o programa, elas conseguem a inserção no mercado de trabalho. Então, elas estavam numa situação de fragilidade social e quando elas concluem o programa de reabilitação, aí elas já estão numa condição bastante favorável. E essa é uma mudança bastante clara na vida delas.
Hi, my name is Lorenza, and I would like to know. Oh, okay.
Não, pode falar aí que eu falo para todo mundo aqui.
Okay. I would like to
Meu
know.
nome é Lorenza. Eu gostaria de saber.
If I would take this off.
Yeah, easy.
I would like to know if you pretend to launch some women outfit someday.
Lançar
I don't
alguma
believe
coleção,
actually in
alguma marca
women or men
focada
outfit because I actually love
mulheres. Eu
many
não
of
acredito
the
que tenha que
presentation.
haver essa
But
separação.
you think about present something for women?
Algo focado em
Yeah,
moda
so I
feminina?
show on the men's schedule, so that's
sim,
at Men's Fashion Week, so that's
hoje
January
eu foco em
and
moda
June.
masculina,
But I don't really.
mas
I was trained in menswear,
eu
but I wear men's clothing.
Todos
so,
meus estudos foram em moda
yeah,
masculina.
I just like wearing men's clothing,
eu
and I like
gosto da
men's
moda
sneakers.
masculina,
And
mas
I feel like we should all be able to
eu
wear
acho que,
what
claro,
we
a
want
gente
to wear.
pode
So I kind
desenvolver
of say that
para
it's
qualquer
unisex,
moda que a gente
and
tem
then
interesse.
the sizing was quite large, but
Você
now
pode
we're
ver que
trying
os
to
tamanhos
tailor
são
it in
bastante
a bit more
grandes.
so that women can also wear.
Então,
So yeah, so when
as
I do my
mulheres também poderiam
presentations, it's
utilizar.
at men's, but it's men's and women's.
Minhas coleções são focadas
I
no
think
masculino, mas
I
claro,
just
não tem
I
problema
kind
se
of
as
see
mulheres
the idea
quiserem
of men's
utilizar.
and women's as not really a thing
Também
anymore.
acho
You
que
know, I feel like
não tenha que haver
there's
essa
so many
separação na
different
moda,
pronouns, and
mas,
you know, I definitely feel that
mas
you don't
definitivamente
need to
eu
specify
acredito que você não
what
precisa
department stores.
especificar
I
uma
think it's
moda
going to be quite
masculina ou masculina.
amazing moving forward. Department stores,
incrível
if
que a
they're
gente
going to have
possa,
men's and women's
desenvolver uma
sections,
moda
and
unissex.
you know, if there is a space for the in between,
Se
you know,
houver
'cause
espaço
I don't really
para
wear
isso,
that much women's
eu
wear.
não me preocupo tanto
Okay,
por esse
thanks.
lado.
Olá, boa tarde. Meu nome é Rodrigo
Hi, good afternoon.
Severiano.
My name is Luis.
Eu gostaria de saber qual que é quanto tempo você demora nesse processo de criação, desde
have you
da
taken on this
pesquisa
create process
até a
developing the
apresentação da
idea
coleção?
until you get to a fashion show or
So we have around like 6 months
então nós
from
temos em torno
each
de
collection.
6 meses para cada
But
coleção.
the first month, we'll probably be still working on the production
o
for the
primeiro mês
orders from the last season.
A gente
So,
ainda tá
yeah,
consumindo
we're
tempo
currently
da
working
última
now
coleção,
for the next project,
mas a
but
gente já está
I
pensando na
met
próxima.
and have been speaking with the charity
Então a gente já
for
inicia
about
conversas com
5
as
months
entidades
before now.
5 meses antes,
just to make sure that they're
pra-
happy
pra-
with the
pra
project that we're
ter
going to be
certeza de que
doing.
eles estão
And
satisfeitos
then
com
now
o
we're in the
conceito.
we've done all the research, and
Nós
we're now
vamos fazer
in
a
like design,
pesquisa, o
and the
design,
showcases in January.
e
So
aí
we've got
nós
yeah, I'd
temos
say six
apresentações
months
em
to
janeiro.
do the
Então a
project.
cada 6 meses, em torno de 6 meses demoram os projetos.
E o processo de confecção das peças?
Actually manufacturing the
okay.
garments.
Yeah, so it's the textiles that is the longest process
Bom,
because
claro,
we have to deconstruct
a parte têxtil
and
é o
print,
processo que demora mais
handprint,
tempo.
and then
Então, a
reconstruct
gente
the
precisa
garments.
coletar resíduos
and
e
the
peças
hand-woven
descartadas,
fabric will usually take a
desconstruir,
month to do the
refazer peças.
sampling.
Então a
So
gente demora
I'm
cerca de
going to
mês
sample when I get back
desenvolver
to start
amostras.
the sampling for the new
E aí a partir
collection.
dessas amostras
So
a
I go
gente
there,
vai
work with the
desenvolver
girls.
as coleções.
But the actual
Eu
construction
reúno
of the
todas as
garments doesn't
mulheres.
take too long. I'd
Mas
say probably about 3 weeks.
Fazer as
We'll
peças em
start
si
before
demora
the
em
show.
torno de 3 semanas.
But it's just the textile, like unpicking, which
Mas claro,
is really time consuming.
coleta de material,
And the
isso
hand knitting. And my
toma
mum
pouco de
works with
tempo.
me on the knitting, so she's
A minha mãe me
telling
ajuda,
me
ela
off if I
trabalha
don't
comigo
have
na
everything done in
costura.
time.
Então ela vai me mantendo informada do andamento dos projetos.
Yeah, I can't get in trouble with her.
Com ela assim, ela me ajuda bastante e eu não me dou mal se ela está envolvida.
Oi, eu queria saber o que vem primeiro. Eu gostaria de saber o que vem primeiro no seu processo, se vem a ideia que você quer passar, e aí você pensa em um material, ou se o material te inspira antes de tudo.
Yeah, it's usually the idea. So I'll start with like the idea I want to talk about, and then like researching into the projects, and then that kind of idea will kind of come into material sense. So at the minute we're working with the Magpie project, and we need to kind of translate that into a material, like the mother and child relationship. So we're in the process now of researching to kind of see where that kind of takes us. So it is a bit scary because we're kind of just starting from an ideas base and not knowing the material sense yet. So I always feel a bit nervous with like every project, like what's the outcome will be, because we don't know yet. So yeah, it kind of all follows, and then we're very so Nat is in the audience who works with me, but we at the minute we're researching into the area of Newham and like shapes, like fashions in those decades. Like we went to the Victoria and Albert Museum of Childhood to look at textiles through the ages, and how textiles change and how growth can change pattern cutting. So we're looking into like those ideas at the minute. But yeah, it's kind of like we don't have an idea until everything kind of just follows from the initial project that we're working on. Yeah. Cool.
Oi, Bethany, é um prazer. Eu gostaria de saber quantos anos você tem, porque a sua ideia de trabalho com a parte de cooperativa e ajudar pequenos grupos é bem similar com o que eu penso, dessa pegada mais slow fashion e reutilização. E eu queria saber também de onde vem o seu amor pelo esse mundo fashion.
Yeah, so I'm 29. Sorry to say that off. Yeah, I'm 29. Yeah, I think it's kind of come from my mum, because she was a pattern cutter in a factory in Liverpool, and now she kind of runs her own like soft furnishing business. But she's kind of always taught me, like always been interested in environmental issues, and she's very empathetic. So I feel like that's kind of made me. But yeah, I think probably my mum. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Muito inspirador. Eu acho que para todos nós, mesmo quem não é da moda, eu acho que ver essas novas gerações, vocês mais jovens, já tomando essas iniciativas e vendo que realmente tem que sair e buscar soluções. E eu acho que é isso que a Bethany nos mostra, com coisas que a gente nem imaginaria, porque ela conecta o social com o ambiental e transforma isso em design e ainda reverte isso de volta para os próprios projetos que ela trabalha. Eu queria agradecer a todos aqui. Hoje a gente tem, depois do almoço, 2 horas, a gente tem os desfiles do Estufa. Hoje é Mi Pinta e Vitor Hugo Matos. E depois a gente tem os toques, a gente vai ter também aqui agentes de transformação, organizado também com a Fashion Revolution e com a presença da Flávia Aranha, que a gente também pode conhecer também o trabalho de uma designer brasileira que também tem esse mesmo foco da Bethany, de juntar o social com o ambiental e trabalhar por uma moda mais limpa, mais sustentável, mais inclusiva, que é o que todos nós buscamos. Ainda uma coisa interessante é como que a gente chega ao acesso, né? Como é que o preço dessas roupas chega também ao público, porque ainda é uma moda cara. Mesmo a Bethany, as peças são caras, a Flávia também trabalha num nicho mais caro. Então, como a gente pode fazer uma moda que tem todas essas preocupações embutidas e transformar isso numa moda acessível para todos, que a gente possa ter essa consciência. Da mesma forma que a gente fala, não comprem peças que custam R$10, R$20, porque ela certamente no processo ela está envolvendo trabalho escravo, ou gente que está sendo mal remunerada, ou mesmo agredindo o ambiente. A gente tem que entender também como é que a gente transforma e oferece uma moda acessível. Senão a gente também está falando, está fazendo a transformação, mas não está chegando lá. Obrigada, gente.